My name is Tea Bilic-Zabritz. I'm the coordinator of the School for Drafting Regulations. I'm coming from Slovenia.
I'm Stephen Evans. I'm an IAEA project officer in the division of nuclear and radiation waste and transport safety at the IAEA.
My name is Jeff Vaughan. I'm from the UK. For many years I was a regulator in nuclear safety in the United Kingdom in what was then called the Nuclear Installations Inspectorate, which is now called the Office for Nuclear Regulation. I retired from there some less than 18 months ago and took up a part-time job as a senior lecturer in nuclear safety and regulation at the University of Central Lancashire. Here I am giving presentations on a drafting school on regulations and guides to assist mainly newly embarking countries in developing their own regulations and guides.
We try to achieve that newcomers, exactly the country which are, let's say, something with a young regulatory body, that they make their step in advance in drafting regulations, in preparing their countries for the area of radiation and nuclear safety, both. Main, let's say, objective of the school is actually to teach them how to draft regulations, so they can do it by themselves when they come home.
The main thing we do in the school is to emphasize the particular things that are in the IAEA safety standards, the requirements documents and also the safety guides. However, in doing that we can emphasize how the requirements in those documents are actually worked out in practice. It's one thing to write something down, it's totally another to actually implement it and what actually it means. So by having someone like myself who has a reasonable degree of expertise, we can actually say what does this actually mean to the people, and I believe that that is very valuable to them in being able to not only frame their own regulations and guides but also to understand what processes and procedures they need to put into place to actually implement them.
The nice thing about the schools is that it's very difficult for individual countries to successfully complete regulations. They're complex and they vary widely according to the legal infrastructure in each country, but they contain common issues that are about ensuring safety in each of the countries. The great advantage with the school is that participants come from many countries. During the course of the school, they see lots of experts and IAEA staff, and most importantly, they work with each other. So there's a peer exchange about how each of the countries has actually worked to implement IAEA requirements or guidance and to build them into their own regulations in the context of the legal infrastructure in their own countries. And because we can bring many experts to the schools and to use our own staff with expertise in various areas, they have access to a lot of resources during the month that they're taking part in the school.
What I hope is that they will go back and be able to write appropriate regulations and guides for their own country. It's not easy for another country to write these, particularly at the regulatory level, regulation level, where they are legal documents, because we don't know the particular laws in that country. But we hope we've given them a recipe that they can use to develop their own documentation.
We hope that participants as a first learn how to prepare their regulations. It was not the main scope of this school was not just to give them some draft of regulation, but to teach them how they will prepare that regulation when they come at home, and also to listen or to hear what is the newest standard, what is the new related to the radiation and nuclear safety, new requirements regarding the IAEA standard and also EU directives.
I think one of the things we're hoping will come out of these schools, and they're beginning to spread now globally. We're seeing other regions taking them up. They've been a big success. One of the great advantages is that increasingly we'll see countries developing their regulations in a very similar fashion, so that we are supporting the creation of a global safety regime where each country has a similar approach to implementing its infrastructure for safety, and that the regulations that are developed and the guidance that's developed is comparable country to country. And that's a great advantage, and will lead eventually to a more or less single approach globally. I think one of the greatest benefits of the school is efficiency. We have 150 member states, all of which have to develop, maintain and revise their regulations, and all of which are seeking to make those regulations increasingly compatible with the IAEA requirements and other international requirements like EC directives and so on. Our former way of doing this, and the method we still use where appropriate, is to send an expert to each member state when they are revising their regulations to assist in the work they're doing. But that means that we can only do a limited amount of work with a few experts in the country, and we don't necessarily get consistency from country to country. By bringing many countries together into the school for a month, or less sometimes, with many experts to choose from during that time, and the benefits of a peer exchange, where the experts from each of the countries sit and talk together about what they should be putting in their regulations, we get a much more common result, and where each of the countries is going back with the same understanding of what should be in their own regulations in accordance with IAEA requirements, etc.